Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. My name's Dr. Lesley Phillips and I'll be your host for the next hour. Today's topic. So I was given by the show producer Corey, I was given an excerpt from an article written by somebody called David Brandberg. I don't know who that person is, but they've written this article which is entitled, "What is Life All About? What am I here for? Is there a purpose? Is there a plan for me? And if so, what is it?" So I thought that I would read out this excerpt from the article and we could talk about what we think about it all. So this is what this chap says about that. "Questions such as these have stirred the soul and imagination of man throughout the ages. Regardless of our country, colour or creed, our hearts all hunger for the same things, for lasting love, genuine happiness, peace of mind, truth and beauty, meaning and purpose. All men, from the most primitive tribes in the jungles to members of the most modern and technologically advanced societies, seem to instinctively sense that life is more than an evolutionary coincidence or accident. Although increasing numbers of people today look to modern science and its continually changing and often contradictory theories to try to understand our origins and the true nature of life, for thousands of years the main source of solace man has turned to has been his various faiths. Faiths in which he gives recognition or worship to the unseen supernatural forces that he feels must exist. In his quest for truth, enlightenment and inner peace, for the ultimate reality, man's many religions has offered him a wide variety of beliefs and practices. By means of those religions, man reaches out far for supernatural assistance, hoping to obtain the favour and blessing of the unseen power or powers he worships. But how can I be bothered with something as old-fashioned as a religion when I'm so busy trying to get ahead? In today's ever-changing and increasingly complex and computerized world, more and more people find themselves so caught up in the frenzied rush to become successful financially, they often have little time to ponder such seemingly abstract matters as the meaning of life, peace of mind, love for their fellow men, or even the eternal welfare of their own soul. After all, such concerns could be quite distracting or detrimental to their pursuit of the most popular god of this world, a god that commands most of the world's worship and devotion, money. From the time that they're young kids, many people have it ingrained in them that the only way to attain happiness in life is to get a good education, with a degree from a prestigious university, land a promising job with a successful company or corporation, make enough money to purchase a new automobile, a nice house or two, and furnish and equip it with all of the various luxury items and high-tech electronic gadgets that are equated with success. Although this route to riches usually requires a lifetime of blood, sweat, tears and toil, most of the folks who follow it do so without serious doubts or reservations, for they are convinced that once they attain the wealth they desire, they will at last find true happiness and contentment. And the article goes on to say, but sad to say, such people usually discover, despite their arduous efforts to obtain happiness, it somehow eludes them. And as the years pass, they often find company or social pressures have filled them with stress and anxiety and not peace and satisfaction. Their private lives suffer as a result, and they're unable to find time to spend with their own families and loved ones. Then, to their dismay, they eventually and ultimately reach a sad realization The world and all of its treasures and pleasures can never truly satisfy the heart of man. Material things may temporarily satisfy the body, but they can never satisfy the soul of man, which longs for a joy, peace, and lasting fulfillment that can never be met by material gain. And it says, this is why the rich and powerful are often the most miserable people, and they already possess everything that most people think can satisfy and make them happy. They've already attained all of the material things their hearts could desire, and to their sorrow they discover that things cannot satisfy or fulfill their empty hearts and starving souls. They no longer even have hope of happiness in riches. The most famous English poet, Lord Byron, realized this and lamented, I have drunk every cup of pleasure, I have quaffed every cup of fame, and yet, alas, I die of thirst. So, that's the topic of the day, the purpose of life and the ways in which man seeks to satisfy that craving for having a purpose. Now, we were going to have a discussion in the studio. Unfortunately, our producer isn't here right now. So I guess it will be a bit of a diatribe from me. But so one of the things I noticed about this article is, so it's talking about two things that where man has sought fulfillment. One is religion and the other is materialism. And to some degree, both of those are external solutions. Whether we're looking for the job and the career and money, or whether we're looking to a belief system, they're things that are outside of us. And I'm talking about conventional religion here rather than a personal faith and a personal connection with God, because religion is a framework of beliefs and oftentimes rules, and in order to belong to that religion, the idea is that if you follow these rules, if you live within this framework of beliefs, then God will look favorably upon you and will bestow you with the happiness that you seek. Unfortunately, that's not always what people get from their religion. And the same thing with the material, with the seeking of material wealth as a way of fulfillment. I kind of agree with the article that we get so programmed from the time that we're children, or most people do, especially in the West, that what's important is your intellect, is for you to gain a degree or a higher degree to show that you're very clever and very intellectual. And the reason for that, we want you to do that, is so that you can go out in the world and survive. So you can go out in the world and get a good job, and not only survive, but go beyond survival and have this what has really replaced religion in a lot of ways, this god of money and the trappings of wealth, because that will make you happy. And it's so true. I think especially, I'm not so sure about the younger generations today, but I know in my generation and those a bit younger and a bit older, that's definitely been the thing. We all went out there, got our degrees, went out into the world, got the jobs and the money. And, I meet a lot of people who've attained those things, and yet they're empty. And yet all the things that they said in that article, they're having problems in their relationships. They're feeling stressed. They're feeling anxious. They can't cope with life, and they're definitely not happy. They're definitely not full of joy, and they're still seeking. They're still seeking what is that thing that's going to give me that peace. I find it kind of interesting as well to look at sort of celebrity culture, and it's almost another form of worship for people. And you can see some of those people where they have everything. They have enormous sums of money, houses, cars, anything that you could wish for, these people have. And a lot of them actually, after they've sought after those things, also realize that there's still a hole inside of them. And many of them, do turn to religion or a faith or seeking something else. So, for example, Madonna got into the Kabbalah, and a comedian I like from the UK called Russell Brand, he's more into the sort of Hindu religions, and a lot of them are into meditation and so on. So it's kind of interesting how life unfolds for people. And so, what is the answer to this? And I know what my answer is. My answer is to cultivate a connection, a deep connection with your inner self. Because the answer to this is not outside of you. There's no external religious framework that will give you the answer to this. Money won't give you the answer to this. The answer is inside of you. And so the first step in finding your purpose is finding out, who are you? So many lives go unexplored and unquestioned. You get onto the hamster wheel, the hamster wheel of modern life, and don't even question him. This is just what you do. You get the degree, you get the career, and on you go. But who are you really? Do you agree with this? Are you doing something that you love? So really, step number one is strip away all the programming, lay yourself bare, and really get to know yourself. Who are you really? And who you are is an eternal consciousness. Who you are is a projection of God, a divine spark of light. And you're not static. You're constantly changing and ever expanding. And so, if that's the case, the things that you believed that were right for you at one point in your life may no longer be right for you. And so, the best thing that any of us can do is to be connected with that higher aspect of ourselves, to turn within and really get connected with the God that resides within you, not an external God of money, not an external God of a religion, but that eternal spark of divine consciousness, which is you. And the only thing that separates you from that spark of divine consciousness is the ego. And it's the ego that seeks the money and the wealth and all of that. And of course, you know what? There's nothing wrong with having money and wealth, so we're not saying that. But what we are saying is strip away the illusion so that you get to know the real you. Because only in knowing the real you will you know and understand why you're really here. And will you get the key to unlocking what fulfillment is for you? Hello everyone, welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley. Now we are in that time on the show where we take your calls. I do have a number of emails actually, and some of them are about life purpose. However, I thought I'd start with this one, which is from Now, we use fake names, of course, to protect the innocent, but let's call her Caroline. And she says her husband and her have separated after 25 years of marriage. And they're both in a lot of pain because of that situation, and she's feeling very guilty. Can I offer some insight why their marriage has been so difficult for them? Okay, so Carol, I will take a look at that for you. And listeners, if you're listening for the first time, I'll just explain that the way that I do this is I go into a very light self-induced trance, which helps me tune out the physical material world and tune in more on an energetic level to the person answering the question. So I'm just going to do that now with this lady. Okay, and so I'm taking a look at... Well, and the first thing, and it's actually quite in line with some of what we've been talking about tonight, the first thing I see that comes up, Carol, with you, has to do with expectations and your expectations of your husband. So I'm not looking at him yet, I'm looking at you. And I'm seeing that you have some programming around what one should expect from a marriage and what one should expect from a husband and what one should expect from oneself when one is in a marriage. And I'm seeing that, so you have this perfect ideal picture of what a marriage is supposed to be, and it keeps you from being in the reality of how it really is. And then when him or you or the marriage itself doesn't live up to those expectations, you are in judgment of it. So I'm actually seeing, one might say that in a way your heart is somewhat closed in the context of this relationship, because you're not in the state of being unconditional about it, and you're not in the state of being in acceptance about it, and you are in judgment because of these expectations that you have. So I'm seeing that for you, one of the things that would really help you, I say this to everybody, but I'm seeing you because I'm seeing you not be very grounded in reality. And so there's a meditation technique, and if you do go back over the podcasts of the show, you won't have to look very far before you find it. It's called grounding. So check that out, because I'm seeing that grounding would help you, because it would help put your feet on the ground and put you in reality and the true reality of the situation. Help you let go of some of these expectations and really bring you into present time, because I'm also seeing that looks like what you do a little bit is you go back in the past, and when we first met, or the first 10 years of our marriage, things were, when the good times, and expecting it to be in the good times all the time. And that's really not what this world is about, and it's really not what the relationships between people are about. Because, there's always ups and downs. We are, we're kind of there to help one another expand. And the only way that you do that is through instigating change. Relationships are really good for that. So that's the thing that I'm seeing about you, is let go of your expectations, your perfect ideals about what a marriage is supposed to be like. Because even if you move on from this one and you find somebody else, if you take those expectations with you, then you will recreate the same issues for yourself, because that isn't going to live up to those expectations either. Nothing will, right? So it's just best to let them go and just be in the moment with what is. I will take a look at your husband and this question from his perspective. I have the husband's name. I'll make up a name. Let's call him Jonathan. Let's take a look at him. Well, and I'm seeing a slightly different energy vibration from him, and I'm seeing that he feels really invalidated and unworthy and not good enough. So I'm not sure what it is that you're feeling guilt about, but I'm seeing that he really is suffering from deep pain around being worthy, worthwhile, and good enough, and he doesn't feel loved and accepted. And of course, he wouldn't feel loved and accepted if you're there with your high expectations of him that he can never live up to. And if you're not seeing him as he truly is, and you're not accepting him as he truly is, but expecting him to be something different than he is, then of course he's going to feel the way that he's feeling. So I'm seeing that that's what's going on in the dynamic of your relationship. So your challenge is to let go of your expectations, and his challenge is to let go of his unworthiness and love himself regardless of what anyone else in the outside world, including you, says or thinks or believes about him. And that's how you're helping one another expand. He's helping you let go of your perfect expectations, and you're helping him let go of his unworthiness. So thank you, Carol, for that question. That was a really great question. And we were having a discussion earlier in the show to do with life purpose and to do with what people run after for fulfillment. And the two main things in this article that we read was, well, it used to be religion and now it's money. and so, if you've got something to ask about on that topic, please call. You can also call with or email with questions about anything else. So anyway, I have something that kind of is on this topic. And let's call this person Thomas. He's questioning his life mission because he's had a setback with a business partner. He's lost his passion to do the things that he used to do. So, should he change focus? And he says he has a spirit guide, and the spirit guide tells him he is stubborn and doesn't listen to advice, and that's why he's told him to write to me. And he does give a little bit of information about what he's been doing in his business. It sounds like it's a speaking and coaching business, So, okay, Thomas, I'm going to tune into you and give you a read on what's going on with you. So, listeners, I'm just doing that thing where I go into a very light, change the level on which my consciousness is operating a little bit. All right. So, I see a theme going on. Because I'm seeing, actually, Thomas, I'm seeing something similar with you that I saw with the last lady for a couple of reasons. One is you've got a vision of where you want to go. You've got an expectation of what your business should be like. And you want to be there already at the end of the vision before you've taken the steps that get you from where you are now to ultimately what you're wanting to create. So again, it's about being out of touch with present time reality, and it's about not being grounded, but projecting your consciousness into that vision. And it looks like an exciting, vibrant vision, but by being ungrounded and not dealing with present time reality, you hinder the process for that to become manifest in physical reality. So, and let's just take a look at what it is about losing your passion. And it looks like it's got something to do with what I've just been talking about, because you've got an idea of where your passion's going to take you, and because it hasn't taken you there yet, you're feeling like it ain't gonna happen. You're not living up to your own expectations, same as the last lady. So, and I'm going to look at the business partner, and I'm going to look at the question about changing focus. So I'm wondering whether the business partner that you're talking about was more of somebody more on the business side or the financial side or the organizational side of things, because it looks like what they've provoked or triggered in you is I call it the pain pictures, but some kind aspect of pain that you have within you that you have not resolved, that you have not dealt with. And it looks like really what they were trying to do was to help you come into present time reality and look around and take stock of this is where we're at now. And, you know, these are the resources that we have, and these are the steps that we can take with the resources that we have. And it just seemed like it didn't feel big and wide open enough for you. So you got invalidated and you got triggered. And the pain picture is, and of course it's not true, and all of us have stuff like this, but there's a belief that just says, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to do this. So, you know, if you could find a way to release and let go of that belief, and also go back and check out how to ground. And I'm going to just check in with this guide that you were talking about, which looks like a wonderful guide, and it looks like your guide would tell you the same things that I just told you, and like as he said, you wouldn't listen. Hopefully you'll listen to that. Anyway, I hope that's helped you, Thomas. Give you some direction. So we've been talking today about life purpose and false gods of money and religion. And we're now on to that part of the show where you can call in with your questions. The phone number tonight is 604-851-6307, and of course you can email info@drlesleyphillips.com. I have a few questions about life purpose. We'll see whether we can get through all of them in the time remaining. So the first one is, let's call this person Daisy, and she wants to know what career path will give her a successful, happy life. What career path to choose for a successful, happy life. That's all the information that I have. So she's not given us any idea of what she's interested or what kinds of choices she's facing. So I'll just take that and see what comes up. So once again, that was Daisy asking about her career. And she's wanting the questions that we were saying people seek. She wants fulfillment and happiness, and she wants to know what career path will give her that. So I'm just tuning into this lady now. And, well, let me see. I see that there's actually a struggle going on with you, because you have kind of, it's interesting, it's also in alignment with what we've been talking about, because you have all this programming that says what you should do. You know, there's some careers that you should do if you know, to get money and status and all that. That's what you should do. And I'm seeing that you have people in your life and parental influences and so on that have those beliefs, and you've been influenced by them. And then you will have, but here's what I love and here's what I'm passionate about. And you're sort of trying to resolve those two because they're different choices. It's like, if I choose what I want, I won't live up to the expectations of my parents and other people, but if they choose what they want, I won't be happy. So that's where that question is coming. And it looks like you're afraid of choosing what you want, because for two reasons. You're afraid of displeasing people who are important to you in your life, but it's like the programming about what you're supposed to do is so strong that it's like, well, if I choose something different than that, will I be destitute? I'm afraid. I'm afraid of making a mistake. So the advice would be always go with where your passion lies. You know what you feel enthusiastic about. And I'll see if I can tune. So if I tune into the vibration of that for you, to me it looks like something in the caring professions. So something in the caring professions. Something that involves looking after other people. So I don't know whether that might be something like nursing, or looking after children, or looking after old people, or being some kind of a counsellor. What's coming up is actually, oddly enough, looks like sort of geriatric care. And so, you know, what gives you the most fulfillment and happiness might surprise you. You know, that tenderness of being able to look after somebody who really needs your help might give you a lot of fulfillment. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Daisy. I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense to you in the context of, you know, you having more information about yourself and your choices. Here's another one. And I'm not sure if we've asked this one a couple of weeks ago, but I'll ask it again. So Sandra says, which of my life purposes is going to allow me the most financial freedom to truly be me? Sounds like a similar question, but which of my life purposes will allow me the most financial freedom to truly be me? So now the God of financial freedom and the being me are connected together in the life purpose in this question. Let's take a look. I'm tuning into this person, and again, it's still that question of what should I do with my life? And I'm just connecting to this person to see what comes up. Well, you know, maybe it is a different person, because looks like the answer looks different. So what I'm seeing is you have an enormous amount of energy and an enormous number of ideas, an enormous number of possibilities. So many that you're very confused about. And it looks like you're enthusiastic about a lot of things as well. So you're in this growth period, which is really a growth period around choosing. And I'm also seeing that it would help you to be more grounded, because it's sort of like you're tuning into the whole of who you are, which is an eternal being of light with infinite possibilities, and kind of ignoring the fact that the temporal self, you, who you call, you know, we're calling you Sandra for the purposes of this, who is finite and who exists in space and time and can't do all of that. So it's about bringing in an aspect of that potential that you see into the body, so that you can start to gain some traction with one of those aspects. Now, which one should you choose? Let me see if there's anything that comes up about that. And I'm seeing it will happen, and it is happening. You know, the right information is going to flow through you. What I'm seeing is something to do with literature or writing or publishing is what I'm seeing for you. So I don't know whether you're attracted to write a book or do something in that industry, but I'm seeing that. Or the other thing it could be is that there's some education, some learning that is starting to come up for you. So again, I hope that some of that makes sense in the context of your life. We don't know anything about what choices you're faced with either. Okay. Oh, here's a funny one. All right. So I love these ones. So I've got a question that just says, what can you tell me about myself, if anything? What can you tell me about myself, if anything? So let's take a look. And I'm sure the person who asked this question knows who you are. Let's call you Andy. Well, it looks to me like you are a person who is focused on their spiritual path, that or possibly follow the sort of either an Eastern religion or some of the beliefs and concepts around that. And it would be a belief system that where the goal is enlightenment or being made free from the wheel of karma and the cycle of birth and rebirth. It's sort of like wanting to extricate yourself from this world into nirvana and so I'm seeing that you put a lot of focus on that. I'm also seeing that what you're doing in your practice to some degree is ignoring the physical body and the physical world. And of course, that's kind of in a way the opposite of what you want to do, because you've created this body to transcend the limits of this body, to expand your consciousness. So how can you do that if you ignore the body and you escape from the body through meditation? Or because there are different forms of meditation, folks. Some of them, help you leave the body. And so that's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that you're seeking a state of, let's call it, for want of better words, spiritual advancement or enlightenment, and denying the body in that process. My perspective as a spiritual teacher is that you can't deny the body in that process. So, of course, as always, you take what information feels right for you, but that's my 10 cents worth on the matter. Okay, so I've got time for one more question, and in the absence of my producer, I am going to rifle through his list of questions and see what I can find. And here's a good one. Changing the subject slightly. So here's a lady. Let's make up a name for her. Let's call her Barb. And Barb says, I feel like I'm in love with two people at the same time. And who am I meant to be with? Okay. Well, let's take a look. And I don't know the names of these other people, so I guess I'll just describe what I see about them. And of course, before I even look at that, though, there's no who you're meant to be with. It's more like who you choose to be with. So there's no one person that you're meant to be with. That's that kind of soulmate concept, isn't it? Which I don't believe in, but that's a topic for another show. So I'll take a look, Barb. So looking at you and looking at these two people that you feel in love with at the same time. And you know what? There's a strong connection with one of them. Well, let me see. How can I say this? So both of them are that there's a strong connection with, but one of them is more of a physical connection, and the other one is more somebody that you're recognizing as, I'll say the word soulmate, but what I mean by that is just another soul that you know very well, that you've traveled through your incarnations with. So it's somebody that you love and that you do love them. But I'm also seeing that person is, and it looks to me like there's the not that one, but the other one, that there is a physical relationship with the other one. So it's almost like one of them you're in a more of a longer term relationship with, and the other one is maybe somebody new. And the one that you're in the longer term relationship with, there's all of these embroilments. You know how it goes when you get into a relationship with somebody, and there's different ways you trigger each other, there's different dynamics that you end up interacting on, different, So I'm seeing that, there's a sexual relationship with this person, and there's also a little bit of an ego battle that goes on. And I'm seeing that this other person, they just look so attractive because it's free of all of that. But it's free of all of that because you're not in the same degree of relationship with them yet. Now, if you let the one go and went with the other one and let that relationship develop, I'm sure that some of the same stuff or different dynamics for you to work on would come up. And so I would say, your relationships are not like a panacea for everlasting happiness. It's like wherever you go, there you are. And so the trick to becoming happier is to work on your own inner stuff and take responsibility for your stuff when it comes up in the relationship, so that it's not there to be, triggered anymore. So I'm seeing that. That's what I'm seeing. It looks like the current relationship where there's a more of an intimate thing looks a little bit painful at the moment. And, the choice there, maybe it would be not to continue with it, or maybe it would be to do your own inner work, and then the dynamic of the relationship would change. If you don't continue with it and you choose to go elsewhere and you don't do your inner work, then you're going to likely recreate the same kind of stuff. So it's not a straight answer and it's your choice, but that's just my take on what might happen. Okay, well, unfortunately, we've only got 1 minute left. I just found another question about life purpose and career direction, but I don't think we've got time to do it. So I am going to say goodbye, lovely listeners, for another week.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.